It was 9 a.m., sharp on a Tuesday when my phone buzzed. I saw Tommy's name on the screen and froze. He never called this early unless something was wrong. I picked up, still half focused on the spreadsheet open on my desktop. "Hey," I said, "Dad's gone." I didn't say anything, just stared at the half-eaten sausage biscuit on the napkin next to my coffee. Tommy let out a shaky breath. Heart stopped in his sleep. 20 minutes ago. They said he didn't feel a thing. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. My second black coffee was already going cold. I was sitting at my desk at Hayes Industrial Solutions, staring at last quarter's output reports. I'd been planning to visit Dad for weeks, but I kept pushing it. First it was a supply chain issue, then staffing, then a surprise audit. There was always something. "I'll catch the first flight out," I said. Tommy just mumbled, "Okay," and hung up. Not even 5 seconds later, there was a knock at my door. I didn't move. Marla from HR peeked in. "Don't forget, corporate's walkthrough starts at 10, she said, with that fake perkiness she always had. I forced a nod. "Yeah, I'll be there." She smiled, completely clueless, and walked off down the hallway. I leaned back and closed my eyes. My dad used to say, "Don't half-ass your responsibilities, even if the world's falling apart." That was him. Career Army, 23 years, retired staff sergeant. He once finished a roofing job the day after breaking 2 ribs because the client needed it done before the rain. I opened my email to let the GM know I'd be out the rest of the week. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then another email popped up. Subject line, urgent. CEO walkthrough today at noon. Franklin Dillard, the man himself, the CEO. He hadn't set foot on site in over 5 years, and now he was showing up, unannounced, on the same day my father died. I sat back hard in my chair. The air felt thick, like my lungs forgot how to work. Dad's body was probably still at the home in Springfield, and here I was, staring down the barrel of the biggest day in my career. No one was going to make this call for me. Not Tommy, not Marla, not even Dad. Quick note, before we keep going, share where you're watching from, city or country. I pushed back from the desk and stood up. My legs were shaking, but I walked out of that office and straight toward the executive wing. I didn't knock soft. I gave 3 solid raps and opened the door before he answered. Franklin Dillard sat at the head of the conference table, sleeves rolled up, flipping through a spreadsheet on his tablet like it held the cure for cancer. His private flight had just landed 20 minutes ago, and they'd stuck him in our biggest meeting room to prep before the walkthrough. He didn't even look up. "I need a minute," I said, stepping in. "You've got 2, he said, still scrolling. I stayed standing. "My dad died this morning, heart failure. I just got the call." That got him? His finger froze mid-scroll. He looked up, eyebrows slightly raised, but not much else. "I need to fly out tonight. Funeral's Friday. I'll stay today, help set up, make sure everything's locked in. But I'll need the rest of the week." He set the tablet down, folded his arms. "Greg, we've got $200 million in state investment funds riding on this walkthrough. You know that I didn't say anything, just kept my eyes on him. You're the face of the plant," he said. "If you're not here, it looks unstable." "Investors don't like unstable." "Paul can handle it," I said. "He's solid. I'll brief him personally. Go over every checkpoint." Franklin leaned back in his chair, like he was trying to decide whether to laugh or fire me on the spot. He rubbed his temple like this whole thing was a minor headache. "No offense to Paul," he said, "but the board's going to ask one question. Why wasn't the guy who's run this place for 5 years standing in front of the damn tour?" I could feel my jaw clench. "So what are you saying?" He didn't hesitate. "I'm saying, if you leave today, don't plan on coming back next week." He looked me dead in the eyes. "Take all the time you need, but make sure your resume is updated." For a second, I just stood there. This was the same man who shook my hand when we launched the automation line 2 years ago. Same guy who told me, "You're the reason this plant's turning around." Now? I was a risk to optics, a line item. I nodded once. Got it. Then I turned and walked out before I said something that'd get me fired twice. I moved fast through the hallway, fists tight at my sides. People passed me, but no one said a word. I ducked into the stairwell and leaned on the railing, trying to catch my breath. He didn't even offer condolences, didn't say sorry or take care or anything that resembled a human response. Just corporate risk analysis dressed up like leadership. My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably HR already trying to cover his ass. I didn't check it. Instead, I headed straight for the break room. I had about 2 hours before noon. That's all I had. I couldn't leave, not yet. But I wasn't about to let Franklin write me off like some replaceable part on the line. If I was going down, I was going down my way. I pushed through the break room door like a man on a mission. Kyle was in there, popping the lid off some neon green protein shake, already halfway checked out. "I need a favor," I said. "Remote access link, secure admin level, no questions." He didn't move at first, just stared at me over the bottle. "What the hell, Greg?" "Don't ask," I said. "I'll owe you 2 big ones." He sighed, set the bottle down, and nodded. 10 minutes. I'll text you." I slapped his shoulder on the way out and beelined to Paul's cubicle. He was eating a banana and scrolling through some operations doc. I leaned in. "You and I are about to do something completely insane," I said. "We're pulling this walkthrough off remotely." From a motel by O'Hare, he blinked. "Wait, what?" "I'm serious. Either we do this, or I'm done here. Fired, replaced, buried. Your call." He looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Then he glanced toward the main hallway and nodded. "All right, tell me what to do." We grabbed everything, 2 tablets, 3 headsets, a backup router from Kyle's office, hauled ass into the operations hub, and started rigging the whole place like it was a damn surveillance sting. "Camera 1 covers the main entrance," I said. "Camera 2's on the shop floor, 3's at the safety station, 4 goes in the conference room." Paul took notes like his life depended on it. Because, honestly, it kinda did. Kyle texted the credentials at 10:14. I logged into the mainframe, ran a security test, and looped in the monitoring software. Solid connection. Next call was Marcus from Quality Control. "Yeah," he said, half out of breath. "I need you shadowing Franklin during the walkthrough. Keep him where we've got coverage. Don't let him wander. Say there's construction, say the floor is hot. I don't care. Just keep him in range." "Jesus, Caldwell. You really going through with this?" "Already started." "I need you, man." He let out a grunt. "All right, I got you." We hit the floor again. Paul strapped on a company polo, straightened his name badge. I gave him my jacket, my ID badge, even the Blue Haze branded pen from my desk drawer. "Walk like you own the place," I said. "I don't," he muttered. "Yeah, but they don't know that." We walked the full route, room by room, practicing every line. KPIF, safety protocols, equipment upgrades. I gave him the language, the tone, the rhythm. "Franklin's going to ask about the headcount reduction," I said. "You pivot to retention bonuses and cross-training. Keep it tight." He nodded. "Got it." We finished at 11:30. I checked the signal from my phone. Clean. Paul looked nervous, sweat on his upper lip, but he was locked in. I slapped his back. "You've got this. Just remember, don't overthink. Speak clear, move slow, and smile like you belong." I ducked back into my office, typed out a short message. "Last-minute family emergency. We'll do the walkthrough virtually. Site is prepped. Link will be active at noon. Greg." I stared at it for a beat, then hit send. Whatever came next, I was all in. I checked into a motel 3 miles from O'Hare. $49 for the day rate. Smelled like wet carpet and pine sol. Didn't matter. I shut the door, yanked the blind shut, tossed my duffel on the bed, and set up on the little table under the flickering light. Pulled my laptop out, fired it up. Kyle's link was live, secure line, full admin access, everything was green. At 11:58, I logged into the plant's mainframe, screen split between the internal cam feed and my slide deck. I queued the first page, updated KPIS from Q2, and a new workforce structure chart. I was already wearing my suit jacket, no tie. Just enough polish to look sharp, but not corporate polished. I stared into the webcam and gave myself one last look, eyes focused, voice steady. At 12:01, Franklin walked into the lobby on camera 1. He looked sharp, tailored blue suit, pressed white shirt, tablet under his arm. Paul met him with a handshake. Smooth. Switching to live audio, I heard Franklin's voice come in, clear. "Where's Greg?" Paul pointed toward the big screen in the conference room, exactly like we'd rehearsed. I clicked over, unmuted, and filled the screen with my face. Right here, sir, I said. Welcome to Chicago South. Franklin's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing. He followed Paul into the conference room, sat down at the head of the table, and nodded once. I jumped in. Let's start with plant efficiency. We've increased throughput by 9% year over year, while cutting unplanned downtime by nearly half. That's without layoffs. That's retention-focused management. Next slide. Safety metrics. Incident rates are down, compliance scores are up. 0 OSHA violations in the last 8 quarters. Franklin tapped his tablet. I saw him scrolling through something, probably cross-checking. We rolled into labor metrics. Average tenure on the floor is up 14 months. We've reduced contractor dependency by 32% since 2021. That means stability, both on the line and in the books. I paused, let that sink in. Then I clicked to the new proposal, the one I'd shelved months ago. This is where we pivot, I said. Automation is coming. We all know that. But instead of cutting, we retrain. We reinvest 4% of projected savings into upskilling and retention bonuses. Keep the veterans, build their skills, protect institutional knowledge. Franklin didn't speak, but I saw his brow twitch. I knew that twitch. It meant I didn't expect that. I clicked again. Here's what it looks like in numbers. I walked them through cost comparisons, layoff versus retrain, short-term expense, long-term gain, showed the projections, the retention impact, the drop in turnover. It was airtight. Then I paused, looked straight into the camera. My father passed away this morning, I said. He was a soldier, then a union pipe fitter for 3 decades. He showed up, every single day. He believed leadership wasn't about doing what's easy. It was about doing what's right and making it work. There was silence, long and heavy. Franklin leaned back, eyes locked on the screen. His expression went flat, cold at first, then unreadable. I didn't blink. This plan isn't just numbers, I said. It's a way to show the people who keep this place running that we've got their back. That we're not just cutting fat, we're building something stronger. Another beat of silence. Then Franklin cleared his throat. Well, hell of a pitch. He stood, adjusted his cuffs, and nodded at Paul. Paul looked like he'd just walked off a battlefield. He texted me 30 seconds later. He was impressed, said, "Gutsy play." I leaned back in the motel chair, my palms still sweating, heart thudding like a jackhammer in my chest. But I knew I'd hit the mark. I landed in Springfield just before 10 that night. Small airport. No music, no bustle, just the hum of vending machines and tired gate agents. Tommy was waiting at the curb in Dad's old Dodge Ram, window down, ball cap, low. He didn't say anything, just reached over and popped the passenger door. I tossed my bag in the back and climbed in. We didn't talk much on the drive, just the tires on pavement and the heater buzzing weakly. About 10 minutes in, he said, "You look like hell." I glanced at him. "You should see the other guy." That got a snort out of him. We drove straight to the funeral home. The building was quiet, smelled like furniture polish and flowers. The director let us in without a word. Dad was already laid out. Clean shave, crisp collar. Looked 10 years younger than he had last time I saw him. Tommy stood at the end of the casket, arms folded tight. I stayed a step back. Couldn't make myself walk all the way up yet. The next few days didn't really feel like days. Just one long stretch of sorting, signing, standing around with relatives we hadn't seen in years. We boxed up his medals, laid out old photos from Germany, from the shop, from backyard barbecues that somehow looked like they belonged to someone else's family. Then we found the note, folded in half, tucked between a pair of socks in his top drawer. It just said, "You boys turned out all right. Don't overthink it. Just lead how you were raised." Dad. I read it twice, then handed it to Tommy. Neither of us said anything. I stopped checking my work phone completely. HR had called 3 times. Franklin left 2 voicemails. I didn't listen to either. I knew what they were about. At night, we sat on the back porch and drank Coors, just like Dad used to. "You really think they'll can you over this?" Tommy asked on Thursday night, halfway through his second beer. "Maybe," I said. "Doesn't matter now." He looked over. "No regrets?" I did right by him. He nodded and didn't press. Friday morning came too fast. I wore a black suit that didn't quite fit anymore and stood at the front of the chapel, hands clenched tight around the speech I hadn't written. I didn't read from the paper. I just looked out at the crowd and started talking. I don't have the words for what kind of man my father was, but I can tell you this, he never missed a ball game. Not one. Not even when it meant missing overtime pay or pissing off some boss. People nodded. A few smiled. He backed his crew every time. If a foreman treated someone like dirt, he let him know, plain and loud. Didn't matter if it cost him hours or points on his record. I felt my voice crack but kept going. He taught us not to flinch, not to bend for the wrong reasons. That family isn't something you trade for convenience. My eyes blurred and I looked down, swallowing hard. But I finished strong, just like he would have wanted. Saturday morning, I was up before the sun, couldn't sleep. My mind was still running from the service, from Dad's voice in my head, from everything I didn't say. I made coffee in Tommy's kitchen, stood barefoot on the cold tile, and opened my work email out of habit. Just muscle memory. Top of the inbox. Subject: Let's talk. Sender: Franklin Dillard. My stomach dropped. I clicked. The board saw the walkthrough. They liked your numbers and the story. They think we need more leaders who give a damn. Proposal: Vice President of Workforce Strategy. Starts Monday. Same pay, more control. Assuming you're in, unless I hear otherwise, I just stood there, mug halfway to my lips. VP, not a demotion, not a warning, a promotion. But that wasn't all. Another subject line sat right below. From Vishal Patel. I hadn't heard that name in over a year. We met at a logistics summit in Denver, talked shop over wings and whiskey, stayed in loose contact. Caught your walkthrough on a shared call, heard about your dad. I'm sorry for your loss. That presentation, it mattered. If you ever want to build something of your own, not just run someone else's playbook, we should talk. I stared at the screen. 2 roads, same inbox. Franklin's offer was security, a title, influence without a target on my back, at least for now. But Vishal, that was different. It was risk. It was freedom. It was mine. Tommy walked in, rubbing his eyes. You're up early. Couldn't sleep, I said. He grabbed a mug and poured. You check your phone yet? I turned the screen toward him. He whistled. Franklin sent that? Yeah. And this other guy, Vishal, wants to build something new, worker-first manufacturing, modern, scalable, ethical. Tommy raised his eyebrows. And he wants you on it. Said I should reach out if I'm serious. He took a sip and leaned against the counter. So, what are you going to do? I didn't answer. I just stood there, watching the inbox refresh. No new messages, no pressure, just the weight of it all sitting in my chest like a brick. I kept thinking about Dad, about the note he left us, about what it meant to lead how you were raised. I could take the VP job, keep my office, my paycheck, my health insurance, or I could throw the playbook out and start something real, something that didn't treat people like disposable assets. I closed the laptop, didn't reply, not yet. Monday morning, I parked in my usual spot, but I didn't wear the suit, just jeans, boots, and a flannel. No name badge, no company polo. I walked through the front doors like it was any other day, nodding at the same security guard who'd scanned my ID for the last 5 years. Inside, the floor buzzed like usual, forklifts whining, radios squawking, someone yelling over by intake. I didn't stop to chat, just went straight to my office. The nameplate still said Greg Caldwell, Regional Operations Manager. I pulled it off the door, tossed it in the box with the rest of my stuff. Pictures, backup hard drive, a few notebooks, that Hayes-logoed pen I'd given Paul last week. Paul met me at the doorway. You sure about this? Yeah, I said, shaking his hand. You crushed it last week. Keep doing what you're doing. Marcus caught me down the hall. Heard Franklin's making it official today, he said. Guess we'll find out. I gave him a pat on the shoulder. Thanks for having my back. At 10 on the dot, Franklin called an emergency all-staff meeting. Everyone piled into the main floor near the safety station. He stood on a makeshift platform, holding a microphone. This morning, I want to acknowledge someone who went above and beyond during a critical moment for this plant. He glanced at me, smiled tight. Greg Caldwell has been promoted to Vice President of Workforce Strategy, effective immediately. Polite applause. A few people clapped hard. Paul, Marcus, even Kyle from IT. I stepped up to the mic, took a second. Then I said, "I appreciate the recognition." Then I handed the mic right back. Dead silence. Franklin blinked. "Greg, I won't be taking the job," I said. More silence. Then a few quiet murmurs behind me. He cleared his throat. "Why?" I looked at the crowd, my people, my floor, my crew. "Because I'm starting something new," I said. "A company that doesn't treat ethics like a buzzword, that doesn't force folks to choose between their family and their future." I turned and walked out. Nobody stopped me. 2 months later, Caldwell Solutions launched, a consulting firm built for mid-size manufacturers looking to modernize without gutting their people. First investor, Vishal, first client, Hayes' biggest rival in Austin. My brother ran logistics. Paul quit and joined me last week. Marla even sent a message. I should have said something sooner. You did right. Dad's dog tags sit on my desk now. And when things get tight, which they do, I ask myself what he'd say. Stand your ground, and don't let anyone else write your story. I didn't, and I won't.